Hello and welcome to episode 2 of Pretty Much Anything Nerdy, a podcast about nerd culture and the things happening in it. I'm your host, Merrick Legutki, joined today with my co-host, Sprenkle, and our dear friend, Mason.
Hello.
How's it going, guys?
Today we will be discussing the Far From Home trailer, a few new animes that we've been watching, and we're going to have a pretty good discussion on the growth of anime movies across the nation.
Alright, so first up, I'm gonna go ahead and take the lead here, just as I did in my half marathon. That's not actually what happened. I did not win. But I did run the half marathon during the Walt Disney World marathon weekend, which is pretty cool because unlike regular marathons, it's Disneyfied, as you could say, and they have like characters out that you can meet during the races and stuff, which is pretty neat. Plus you get to run through the Disney parks, which is pretty cool. Just something else to add to running, basically.
So I'm guessing it's usually they're set in just one park, right?
So it depends on the length of the race. So for instance, the 5 and the 10K that they do during this weekend were both through Epcot. And then the half marathon that I did, we started at Epcot, and then we ran basically down the highway to Magic Kingdom. You run to Magic Kingdom, you go out the back, and you pass a bunch of the resorts, and then you run back to Epcot. And then we finish basically running through Epcot.
Wow.
That's nuts, running down the... Because I was thinking about that at first when I asked if you just ran through one park, because I figured, the highway, separating all the parks. So it's pretty nuts to hear that you pretty much ran alongside it to get to the other ones.
Now, are people dressing up during these? I know people might dress up like Jack Sparrow, or are they going just marathon racing gear? What are they wearing out to these things?
There's a pretty hefty mix. There's a guy who I run into most every race, and I start out of, the top corral. And there's a dude who wears a different princess dress to every single race that I've ever seen him at. Wow. And he's had a different dress every time, too.
Wow, that's impressive. Yeah, because you've run a lot of these, too, haven't you?
Yeah, this was my 9th weekend, and more races than that. It would have been, my 20th race or so doing these. But yeah, there's all kinds of different costumes, from people who just wear, color scheme themes to some people who, basically go all-out cosplay for it. There was a Syndrome that showed up to a few races I've seen now, full-on wig and everything. I don't know how he does these races in this costume. But it's pretty cool, and that's what kind of makes it different. Normally I wouldn't just talk about a race on a nerdy podcast, but I think this usually tiptoes the line in there a bit.
Yeah, it's definitely a cool hobby. It sounds very cool.
Yeah, especially to Disney's just involved in so much nowadays. It's probably not something that anyone would bring up before when addressing nerd culture.
Half of the things we're talking about today is probably associated somewhat with Disney. So
exactly, Disney, owns Marvel now, Star Wars. So
they just need that one more Infinity Stone. I don't know what company they're going to get, but just one more.
One more, yeah. But speaking of Marvel, that does bring us into the Far From Home trailer. Finally, just launched.
Yeah, I wasn't sure when they were going to launch it. I wasn't sure if I was going to watch it, to be completely honest. Because obviously, we all knew Spider-Man was coming back. But,
what? Spider-Man coming back? Oh, what?
Sorry.
Spider-Man died?
Spoiler alert. Spider-Man is coming back, if you couldn't guess it by the fact that he is getting a trailer, or he's getting a new movie, and the trailer just dropped. So, I think we're getting Spider-Man. They did, though. I don't know if anyone noticed, you cannot see the date, the year, on the passport. So, I think it's definitely taking place after Infinity War.
But they're leaving it open to be before Infinity War as well.
Yeah, so they don't have the year on there. So some people are, freaking out, oh, this is set before Infinity War. This is, this is where Peter's coming back from on the field trip in the first one. But when Pete talks to Tony, he
says he was at MoMA.
Yeah, exactly. So that kind of quells that theory, in my opinion. But yeah, so I was nervous. I didn't want to watch it because I was afraid the trailer... Because Sony's the one that made it. I don't know if you guys know that. The trailer. Sony releases the trailer. Yeah, it's not the MCU that releases the trailer. And so, apparently, I didn't think about it for Homecoming. But I guess when the Homecoming trailer came out, there was, quite a few spoilers in it from a Marvel movie that released before Homecoming. But the trailer had come out before the Marvel movie dropped. And so I was kind of nervous for Far From Home. I was like, oh, what if I watch the trailer and just straight up says, Endgame spoilers, left and right, who's there, who isn't there. And so I was pretty nervous, but I'm pretty glad I watched it.
Yeah, I guess the only two spoilers it really does is it confirms that Spider-Man survived the snap as well as Nick Fury. People forget that he wasn't a prominent member in that trailer, so Nick Fury obviously survives the snap.
That's true.
Yeah, this trailer, though, like, was not what I was expecting at all. I know in the last episode we actually speculated what we thought it could be, and this was really not anywhere close to what I think we had guessed.
Yeah, not at all.
I definitely feel like it feels right based off of the first movie, though.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool, transition. We went from Homecoming, set right in the school. It's Homecoming dance. To Far From Home. He's far from New York. He's in Europe. I can't remember where in Europe they are, if they even say it.
I want to say London. I saw London Bridge and
I believe there's scenes from all over, because the point is they're on a class trip still.
Oh, true, yeah.
And they're like basically traveling all over Europe, because I believe that there's a scene where they're in Venice, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, they definitely are, because they're on the gondolas, right? That's what they're called. You see a shot of Ned being on the gondolas. But, yeah, I'm super excited. Yeah, I'm pretty sure our speculation for the last episode, we thought that maybe he'd get revived from the snap on, like, a different planet, and he'd have to be coming back, so clearly different from that speculation.
That would be Far From Home as well.
That's what we were saying. We were taking it very literally.
We did see two big things. We saw Mysterio, Jake Gyllenhaal, looked amazing. I don't know how they were going to make the fishbowl look cool, but the fishbowl looked cool.
Yeah, I'm super amped for that. I think Mysterio is one of the cooler villains in Marvel. And so the fact that they were able to pull it off so well, and they got such a great actor. Like, Jake Gyllenhaal has so many amazing movies to his name.
Yeah, so he was up there to play Spider-Man when it was open. I know he tried out for it, but I guess they went younger with Tom Holland and everything.
Yeah, they actually, if I remember correctly, I think for the original Spider-Man movies, the Sam Raimi trilogy, Jake Gyllenhaal they almost recasted Peter. Like, it almost wasn't Tobey Maguire for one of the movies. Wow. I think he was hurt for something. So they almost brought in Jake Gyllenhaal to be Spider-Man. Yeah. So it's pretty cool, coming full circle. Now he's
that's pretty cool
villain, even though he didn't come across as a villain in the trailer.
And a lot of people saw the sand guy and the water guy and thought it was going to be Hydra Man and Sandman, but apparently it's the Elementals. Not very well-known villain group, but should be interesting.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, there was so much that was revealed during this trailer, though.
I was scared it was too much, but there's probably a good amount we haven't seen.
I mean, I feel like the story is still vague enough. We know why he's there, and you know that, like, Nick Fury is probably the driving force.
Yeah.
But we don't really know what the villain's MacGuffin is by any means.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm definitely excited.
Yeah, someone that wasn't the biggest fan of Spider-Man Homecoming. I know it's a very well movie, but to me, I was a little underwhelmed. But I loved it. It was still a great movie. But this looks amazing as well. Yeah,
I'm super stoked. I just also love... One of my favorite parts about some of the Marvel movies is all the different locations. That's not really something that a lot of people think about, but all the different scenes, you'll see it in... Like, Civil War, you notice it a lot. They travel, like, country to country. And so all these scenes were set in wildly different areas. Kind of seems like Far From Home might have a couple different, like we mentioned London, you mentioned Venice. So it looks like we might get a couple different locations for the movie. So I'm pretty excited for that. Should be pretty cool. Pretty fun to watch.
Yeah, and basically segueing terribly into anime. Mason, you have something you'd like to talk about?
Yes, I want to talk about Reincarnated as a Slime. This anime is relatively new, and I absolutely love this anime. I've gotten into it pretty much with Lake. I watched it with Lake. I've even watched it with Merrick here, and they like it as well. The main character, Rimuru Tempest, is basically, he's just a guy that hasn't had a girlfriend since ever, and he gets kind of in a sticky situation of dying, and right as his dying breath happens, he kind of, gets reincarnated as a slime with his dying wish. And it just segues into him waking up being the slime, and he's just going through some world he doesn't know, and it's like a video game kind of starts out. He's leveling up, he doesn't know what he's doing, meets a couple people, and he's just amassing this big, party, and it's getting kind of interesting. It's just pretty cool anime. I would say it's like One Punch Man. If you guys are a fan of One Punch Man, I would definitely check this out.
Huge fan.
Yeah, and what I mean by that is, we have these villains that are super powerful, and the party that Rimuru is, in, they fight them first, and they're struggling, kind of like how all the heroes struggle against these villains, and all of a sudden Rimuru comes in and kind of just does his job.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've been watching this one as well. This one is super cool. Very fun to watch. Kind of going off how he gets his powers is kind of unique. Basically, in the scene where he dies in like present day Tokyo essentially, and basically all his powers stem off of his like regrets and his last wills. He's thinking, oh, I'm feeling this, I'm feeling that, I could have done this, I wish I had done that. And that's all basically being programmed into his, they call it the Great Sage, but it's like a computer in your head essentially. And it's basically turning it into like these superpowers, give or take. But basically the ultimate form for these powers turns him into this slime.
Yeah, it's pretty funny because like getting stabbed, he's like, "Oh, I feel cold," and it's like, "Well, heat resistance activated," and he's just getting all these things from saying when he's dying. It's just pretty funny.
It's pretty funny too. I've seen the first 2 episodes. I think I really enjoyed them. I just haven't gotten around to watching them, but it's pretty interesting. This, I don't want to say, I guess genre of animes has really picked up over the last 10 years. At least this is the way I looked at it. It's scenario where someone in a normal everyday setting is being reincarnated or transported to like a fantasy setting. We saw last anime season How Not to Summon a Demon Lord was kind of like that. Konosuba is a very popular anime, very funny one. That's the same thing. Someone dies, then they get transported to a fantasy setting. Even to an extent, that's kind of what Sword Art's like too.
ReZero as well.
Overlord too, which is super popular and kind of older now.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a genre that people like, and this is one that I'd say would rise up the ranks, in my opinion.
And that's what I love about the premise of this, is it is so bizarre and ridiculous that someone gets reincarnated as a slime.
Yeah.
Like, I remember, I'm really big about kind of trying to pick out what animes I'm watching the season ahead, so I always keep an eye on the titles coming out. And I remember when I saw Reincarnated as a Slime, I was pretty sure I was going to kind of skip over that one, but you two have talked about it so highly.
Yeah, and I watched the dub, and Brittany Karbowski does an amazing job as Rimuru Tempest. Kind of just the emotion and everything. It's just funny. She's very funny with Rimuru and how she voices him.
Yeah, and even the way the story's told is kind of humorous. Obviously, from the name, it's called That Time I Was Reincarnated as a Slime. And essentially, Rimuru is narrating his own story. But he's kind of narrating it from a past perspective. So you're seeing it happen, and then it always ends with, and that's how Rimuru did this or that. So it's very interesting the way it's heading with it.
I didn't really realize that. That's a good point.
Yeah, I'll definitely check it out. It looks really fun. I will say the first episode it's probably some of the hardest that I've laughed watching an anime in a first episode. His dying wish was asking his friend to destroy his hard drive. That was the funniest thing to me. And I feel like that
he reiterated 4 times too in his dying breath. Like, he didn't just say that offhand. He was no. Please, for the love of God, dump my hard drive.
But seriously, dump my hard drive. Like, he keeps repeating it, and it's just so funny. I feel like it does a really good job setting that tone for the rest of the show. I wasn't sure how serious it was going to be, even with a name like Reincarnated as a Slime. It's clearly a hilarious show. And it kind of goes to show you, I mean, we should all know it for anime, but no matter how bizarre the concept, with good writing, you can pull it off, especially if it has good animation. And the animation seems like it's been pretty good for Reincarnated as a Slime.
Oh, yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. But, Merrick, where are you on Fairy Tail now?
So, Fairy Tail, I binged a lot. I got through since the last episode, I watched I can't remember what the tower is called, but with Jalal. Yep, Tower of Heaven. I got through that arc. I got through the arc with Loxus.
Loxus.
Yes, Loxus. And
that's my favorite arc in Fairy Tail.
Really? I thought it was really cool. I kind of wish it was a little longer.
So I've seen 2 types of people that watch those kind of arcs and complain either it's too long or too short. I think it was very short, but Fairy Tail was just speeding through it, and I kind of like how there's little filler, and the filler's really good too. So
yeah, one thing I've mentioned while watching Fairy Tail is it's a very easy watch because it feels like a lot of self-contained stories. Like, obviously things will be referenced as the show goes on, but it's a lot of 8 to 10 episode arcs, which is really neat, and it's fun, easy to watch. The reason why I said I think the Loxus arc could have been longer, the whole premise behind it, how he kind of forces the Fairy Tail people to face each other. If they would have kind of spread out the length of this arc, they could have done a really good job, establishing other characters in Fairy Tail. At this point in the show, it's really focused on Gray, Natsu, Urza, Lucy. I feel like they could have really used this arc to build up some other characters, and they did. Like Mira Jane, kind of finally
you didn't
uses
see
her power
anything
again.
about her, and then
turns
into Devilman Crybaby on you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a great comparison. So that was out of nowhere. I just think those kinds of arcs, I would say tournament arcs are the best. I'm not saying that was specifically a tournament, but the way he set it up, like having Fairy Tail pit against each other, was a pretty cool concept. And
I would just say one arc that you should look out for in the future, I'm just going to name drop the arc name, is the Grand Magic Games. That's basically everything that you listed that you want. That's it, so that'll be interesting to see when you get there.
I'm excited to get to it then. Another great thing that the arc did, before I forget about the Loxus arc, Loxus, so I have said it on loop, that the guy was the biggest jerk in an anime that I'd seen in a while. He's just so annoying and condescending. And I've said on multiple times to Mason how much I couldn't stand him. And by the end of the arc, I actually felt bad for him.
Yeah. That's when I cared about Fairy Tail. See, growing up, all of my friends have made fun of me to never watch Fairy Tail. It's only, friendship, fan service, and family. And you know what I love about it? The friendship, the fan service, and the family. that arc literally established at the end of it is just, I was like, wow, this is actually a good anime. I like this.
Yeah, I did. I really enjoyed it, and it blows my mind. I guess it goes to show you, even though the anime is pretty lighthearted, it does a pretty good job getting you to care about the characters. Since I went from hating Aloxus to feeling bad about him, between the flashbacks and him having to leave Fairy Tail. But
yeah, pretty much any time they give any character some love in that show, you come out and you're usually crying over that character for whatever reason it is.
Yeah, and which I wasn't expecting at all. And so I finished that, and then the very last thing I saw was I Met Wendy. It was the last episode I watched.
Wendy,
yeah,
also Brittany Karbowski.
So that was pretty funny. I'm very interested to see where it goes from here. She has a little cat thing too, kind of like Happy.
Carla.
Yeah.
Oh, I do like the arc that's coming up for you.
Carla's a thrill.
Yeah, so I haven't seen anything about Wendy, but I'm guessing just since she has the little cat thing that she also has some kind of dragon powers like
Interesting
Natsu.
theory you got there.
But I guess Gajeel doesn't have a little cat thing. Not that it would fit his character at all. That would be the most bizarre thing.
Just remember what you
in
said
the world.
right there later.
The cat thing?
That he wasn't interested in getting a cat thing. Just put a mental note in your
Okay,
head,
got it. I'll keep that one.
Gajeel's a very cat man.
Keep that one in mind.
Oh man, I can't wait for you to catch up even where I am.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm sure it goes some. If there's one thing I've learned from watching Fairy Tail is it doesn't really seem to go where I think the show's gonna go. I'm interested to see where it spirals out to. But I mentioned, we've been talking about 2 fantasy animes. We mentioned Reincarnated Slime and Fairy Tail. One that I am guilty of not checking out because I hyped it up so much on our first podcast is The Promised Neverland.
Merrick.
Yeah, I hyped it up on our first episode, and I was misinformed. I had thought that it was starting in the spring. It actually debuted just a couple days after we recorded the first episode. And I have not had the chance to check it out yet.
Yeah, me neither.
Well, I have seen it. I'm a big dub guy, but that was in sub, and I had to check it out because it's new. So it definitely will throw you off. I had no idea. I just saw the cover. It was kids. I wasn't even sure they were kids.
You never know with anime.
Yeah, you never know. You never really know. But it's just basically an orphanage of kids. I'm not going to spoil too much about it. It's just get ready for some heartbreak. Even in the first episode, it's something.
I love me a good cry.
Yeah, you're going to get a good cry in even that first episode. I haven't checked out the second one, but I'm about to check it out soon. But it's definitely an up-and-coming anime. I would say it's going to be a big shonen, not a big 3 possibly, I would even say. I can't really say that.
That's a lot of praise.
I would say, I know it is a lot of praise, but it has the potential because I have read ahead as well.
It'll be interesting because we're definitely in that kind of point in time where it's time for some new anime to step up. Like obviously My Hero is a huge thing right now. But when we were growing up, we had Dragon Ball Z, Naruto, One Piece. One Piece is still around, and we had Bleach too, of course. So
rest in peace.
Yeah, and so there's always been the joke like the big 3 anime, or big 4, big 3, big 4, and so it'll be interesting to see if that kind of changes Now what's going to step up. I definitely think The Promised Neverland can do it. I haven't watched it yet, but I know the hype for it's unreal.
Well, I think the main staple of a big three is longevity as well. A lot of people don't really realize that because Seven Deadly Sins has the potential to be a high end, but it's ending soon. So I don't see that lasting very long.
Is it really?
Yeah, it literally is done almost. They said it's ending soon.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That's something I... Also guilty. I love the first season. I haven't watched the second season of Seven Deadly Sins yet.
Yeah, I actually am 2 episodes from finishing the second season of Seven Deadly Sins. I meant to finish it before this, and I just never got to it.
Man, you guys are slacking. I've finished Seven Deadly Sins, the new season, and it's honestly the best one of all of them. I'll say it right here.
Yeah, that's nuts. I loved the first season. I thought it was so good.
Yeah, the first season is great with like the characters meeting all the sins, but this is gonna show off the sins. You haven't seen sins like you're gonna see them now.
I'm excited.
Yeah, like I said, I still have 2 episodes left, so still a lot to watch. So far, though, I'm still pro season 1.
Really? Oh,
yeah.
I think towards the end. It's really opinion. I like just a group versus a group, high action. You just see overpowered characters that you've seen before, but not at this level. It's just very different from the first season, in my opinion.
Right, and I don't think I've quite gotten to that point yet, is the problem. Because there's definitely some weird character developments in this one.
Yeah, oh my god, there's a lot of revelations, too.
Yeah.
With, like, the past. There's a lot of things in the past that you realized, like, you had not a clue what was happening in the first season, really.
Right.
Especially with Meliodas.
See, I don't know. I think some of that was a little bit predictable. You kind of know something's going on.
Yeah. I don't want to spoil much, but go through as well.
That's the one I was trying to get to.
Yeah. So once Merrick catches up and Lake's finished, we can talk, I think, a lot more about that. I don't want to spoil it for you guys.
Yeah, we'll definitely we'll have a full-length conversation on this then when we all catch up.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll have more time for anime soon. But the reason I've kind of been slacking on anime, guys, is I've been playing a lot of video games lately. I've been trying to catch up. And I've got quite a few things to talk about for the video game section because I was catching up for some big releases. But just since we were just talking about anime, I think we could transition to video games pretty good. This past weekend, there was supposed to be a Jump Force beta, an open beta.
Oof.
Yes, I did not get to play it once. And the reason I didn't get to play it once... I definitely could have made time for it. We had some friends visiting from out of town. But they only had... It was supposed to be 2 3-hour windows a day. But it was very odd windows. I want to say the first day it was 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. on a Friday. So was at work. And then Saturday... Or then that night it was 12 a.m. to 3 a.m.
Holy crap.
Yes. And then the next day, the Saturday morning, it was supposed to be, I think... noon to 3 again. Also kind of an awkward time period right in the middle of the day. It's Saturday, so people are usually out doing things. And then they scrapped the rest of the sessions after that.
Apparently it was for PS4 only, too.
I didn't know that. So that's pretty cool. Thank God I have a PS4.
Yeah, I know, right? Sam, I wasn't able to play it either.
Yeah.
I'm so hyped on it and wasn't able to play it.
And then they canceled the rest of the sessions because of unstable servers. But...
they should have did local... multiplayer. They only allowed the online. I think they shot him in the foot because the servers wouldn't work, and you wouldn't need the servers if you just allow split screen multiplayer right in front of you.
Yeah, and I guess that was a big debate all over the internet. Was people saying that local multiplayer, and then you have the know-it-alls who are like, well, you should know that an open beta isn't a demo; it's to check the servers, and so that was just them kind of stressing. This weekend wasn't about people actually playing; it was to check the servers, and I'm really glad they did.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, and two, it could be difficult, especially with those kind of times, if you're doing a LAN only. You got to find someone who can come over at midnight now or 9 a.m. to be able to play it.
True.
So I don't know if there was really a win-win scenario here.
That's very true. We did talk about local multiplayer, but you're right. With those weird times, it's kind of hard to organize playing with
I
a
literally
friend.
fell asleep trying to download it. It was like I was trying to play it at like 3 a.m. and it just was not working out.
Yeah, so I was pretty upset about that. But what games have you guys been playing?
I must be playing some Overwatch. I honestly, I'm a new player to Overwatch. I think I started around season 11, 10, I think. So I'm honestly getting better every season. But there's a lot of big news. So this is the Lunar New Year, Year of the Pig. I know that's a new event coming up.
Yeah, and Lunar New Year's are always huge for video games, especially any who have any sort of Korean or Chinese like fan base.
Fan base, yeah, for sure. I know Lake and I have been playing Overwatch for a long time. We probably started honestly season one. Yeah,
wow.
Yeah,
we're getting I think 3 new skins got confirmed. There's Reaper, Hanzo, and Reinhardt. They're going to be like traditional, I think it's Chinese, just get up. That's what their skins are mostly about. There's a couple of buffs and hits to some of your players. I know if you're a Reaper main, you are getting a game-changing buff.
Oh no.
It is life stealing, goes from 30% to 50%. And that is huge for tanks. And tanks are also losing most of their shield. Like Orisa is almost unplayable apparently because her shield is getting nerfed. And D.Va's Matrix is getting nerfed from a 1-second cooldown to a 2-second, which is going to make it very hard
I'm okay with that.
For you to decide when to use your Matrix. But this is mostly for goats. This is an anti-goat formation because goats has been taking over the past couple, months.
And just for the listeners that aren't familiar with the strats, what exactly is a goat formation in Overwatch?
So apparently it was a professional team that used this, and it literally just took the whole league by storm. It's 3 tanks, 3 healers. Lucio is very pivotal to it. You need to wait for your speed boost until you get immediately on the point. And the tanks, you just stick together, wipe the point out, take over the point. It's very hard to kill 3 tanks coming at you at once.
I guess that kind of explains the Reaper buffs.
Yeah, that Reaper.
Which sounds terrible.
Yeah.
I'm not the most active player, but Reaper was kind of always been a thorn in the side.
Yeah, definitely.
Right, but is that worse than 3 tanks? I mean, I played a couple of times during different 2-tank metas, which always phases in and out. But
yeah, 2-tank metas are pretty tough. So, oh my gosh, I can only imagine 3 tanks. See, to me, that GOAT strategy, that doesn't I kind of draw a line with video games where I love to win, especially competitive games. Overwatch, I'm a big League of Legends fan. But I have to make sure I'm having fun.
Right.
3 healers and 3 tanks does not sound fun.
It also isn't very effective as it was when you need everyone on board to make it work.
For sure.
But I definitely agree with you. It is kind of broken, and it didn't really have a thorn in its side. So Reaper being the buff is like an anti-tank. It's kind of nice you can counter it.
Yeah, I can see how it sounds, if you think about percentages, it might not sound that drastic, 30% to 50% lifesteal. But if you put Reaper against a tank with 50% lifesteal, he's going to heal back more than the tank can damage.
Exactly.
Real quickly. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. Well, cool. I'm excited to hear how that changes everything. Like, what have you been up to?
Nothing much in the side of video games. I did play Pokemon Go during the Community Day on January 12th. So this was Totodile for the event. It was a 3-hour event. It was a lot of fun. This was actually the same day that I ran the half marathon, so I was in Disney, which is like the best place to play Pokemon Go, and there's always tons of people there playing all the time.
You probably could have gotten enough candy for alligator within 30 minutes playing in Disney.
I believe I came home with 7 for alligators and 9 shiny Totodiles.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, and that's usually how it goes. We've been at Disney for I think every Community Day since we started playing again, at least.
That's awesome. I was so upset. I've recently gotten back into Pokemon Go thanks to Lake and a couple of our other buddies, but I was pretty upset. I was grabbing lunch with a couple of my buddies and got home an hour before Community Day ended and just happened to open up Pokemon Go while I was walking my dog and saw a Totodile and wanted to smack myself in the forehead. So I realized I had to just drop a lure and not close my phone and just prayed that I got enough Totodiles to get it for alligator just sitting in my house. And unfortunately, I think I got up to 90, which I was really impressed with. I thought I'd get around 60.
Wow.
I wish I had more Panette berries to get to 125 to get the for alligator. But yeah, I did nothing for that hour but play Pokemon Go trying to get the Totodiles.
Did you get the for alligator?
No, I had 90 candy. So you need 125 to get any first form to its third stage. I guess second stage is the proper term. Yeah. But so I didn't get even close. And then to add insult to injury, I mean, I'm happy I got one. But at 4:59, I clicked on a Totodile and it was a shiny Totodile. So I freaked out. But it has ADCP. So obviously I'm not going to waste all that candy evolving an ADCP Totodile.
Yeah, that happened to me as well. Obviously, I had a few high-level ones because I had many more, but a lot of times I'll only pick one or two of the shinies to evolve, and the rest I'll just pick ones with higher IVs or higher levels just to save on the candies. So I still have most of my shiny Totodiles as the Totodile, which are usually the best form of the shiny anyways.
Yeah. And I'm bummed because I mentioned it briefly when you brought it up, but Totodile is literally my favorite starter. I've been playing Pokemon since I was 4, maybe 5. Totodile has been far and away my favorite across any of them. The only one I can think of that might come close is I really like Trico.
Trico's my favorite. That's literally my favorite starter, hands down. I was so stoked when Megas came out, and I found out Sceptile had a Mega, and I love it. It looks cool.
Yeah, Gen 2 got did
Gen 2 needs Megas. They need a Mega. Like, Typhlosion would look cool. Even for Alligator would look cool.
Meganium would look sweet.
Yeah.
And maybe, I think that might be the only starter I've ever not used in a playthrough.
Chikorita?
To this day, I've never used a Chikorita.
I've used Chikorita. It's not the greatest.
No, I'm usually water starter all the way for almost every game.
Yeah, I think Gen 2 I always pick Cyndaquil.
I did like Cyndaquil too. Gen 2 is just my favorite Pokemon game. I think we talked about that a little bit.
Yeah, we talked about it last time because I'm playing through
Soul Silver, right?
Silver, yeah. There we go, yes.
Yeah. Which starter did you pick? Did you pick Totodile?
I did pick Totodile, yeah.
So the community day was perfect timing for you.
Yep. But, Merrick, what else have you been playing?
Oh, yeah, okay, so I mentioned this a little earlier. The reason that I have not been watching anime is we have some very big releases in the next, honestly, less than 10 days of this recording, yeah. We have Resident Evil 2 Remake coming out, which is one of my favorite games ever, and then Kingdom Hearts 3, which I've been waiting for almost 15 years now.
Same, though. Same.
Yeah, and so...
I'm tired of replaying Kingdom Hearts 2 on the PS2.
Yeah.
Something new.
Yeah, so two things I've been playing that sucked up my time these last couple weeks is I've been playing Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep. That was the only Kingdom Hearts game that I hadn't... Only main Kingdom Hearts game that I hadn't played. Apparently it's the most important for the story,
very
too.
Very pivotal to the story with this next one with Aqua and Ventus and everyone.
And so the way Birth by Sleep works, for people that aren't aware, there's 3 main characters, and you do a playthrough as one character, and you finish the game. Then you do the playthrough as a second character, finish the game, and then you do another playthrough as the third character. I recently finally finished my first playthrough as Terra. I got up to about 85% done with the campaign and had to start it over, because I was playing on the hardest difficulty. I couldn't suck up my pride and start on the normal difficulty, because I had recently played through Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 on the hardest difficulty, and I was like, I don't care if it's a new game that I've never played before. I finished the first 2 on the most difficult difficulty. I can do the third one just as hard.
Mistakes were made.
A little more than you could chew.
Oh my gosh. It was so hard. I think I've never been one to, throw a controller or break anything or get, really upset while playing. And I think at one point while playing on the hardest difficulty as Terra, I pulled the blanket over my head and just did nothing. Just sat in my chair for 45 minutes. I was so upset. And so I got really far and ended up just restarting the whole game. I deleted that save data and started over on the easiest difficulty just to beat through the story. And I still got stuck on the last boss on the easiest difficulty.
Wow.
Yeah, and the thing with Birth by Sleep, that it isn't like this for any of the other Kingdom Hearts, and it won't be like it for Kingdom Hearts 3 either, is the way the game was designed, it really poor, in my opinion, boss fights, is you get stun locked. So for those people that aren't aware, stun locked is when an enemy or other player hits you and you cannot move and you're locked. So you're stuck in an animation. You can't get out. So bosses, almost every boss in this game, as soon as they hit you, you are stuck for the full combo. So on the hardest difficulty, as soon as a boss hit you once, you were stuck for the whole combo, which usually led to instant death. And so that was my big gripe with Birth by Sleep, was there was nothing I could do. Stun locking's terrible.
It's very bad for games.
Yeah. You usually only see it in some fighting games, and people say that's strategy, locking them into the animation. Me personally, I don't like not being able to respond to anything. Being trapped in something drives me nuts. So Birth by Sleep, I finished the first playthrough. I finished Terra. Ended up enjoying it a lot once I went to the easiest difficulty. I'm halfway through Aquas. I'm excited to finish it all. I think it took me about 8 hours to finish the Terra campaign. So I've probably got about 12-ish hours of playing left on that game before I finish it. I have to make sure I finish it before 3.
Yeah, you're counting down.
Yeah, I'm getting really close. So that's been sucking up a lot of my time.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what you've been playing almost any time that I've come over and seen you.
Yeah, I've been stuck in my chair just playing that game. I spent a lot of time on it. And then on the opposite spectrum, something that I did not have a lot of time for, the other game that I mentioned that's huge being released it gets released the Friday of this recording this week, so about 5 days. The Resident Evil 2 demo. Resident Evil 2 out of nowhere dropped they called it a one-shot demo. And so I wasn't sure what that meant. I was just really excited to get to try it. And first impressions, I am blown away. Like, I am so excited for this game.
I watched you play. It looked very, very fun and very cool.
Yeah, I'm not going to say that I'm more excited for it than Kingdom Hearts 3, but I'm pretty close. I was blown away with... You have to understand, the first time I played this game was on a Nintendo 64. It was the first game that I played through in one sitting. I pulled an all-nighter with my friends to play it. And so it was unreal to walk through the police mansion or the police building and thinking about what I saw on Nintendo 64 graphics, and now seeing it remastered in PlayStation 4 graphics.
Oh yeah, you probably saw the oven mitt hand Leon.
Oh yeah, they looked like they were wearing oven mitts or gloves, and now it's just
man,
unbelievable. I mean, 4K gaming now with pros and TVs nowadays, but it blew me away. But the reason it's called the one-shot demo, which I found out and was really upset about the first time, is you only have 30 minutes to play the demo. Not 30-minute sessions. You have 30 minutes in total. And so what happened to me was the first time I played it for probably about 20 minutes and then closed it to eat dinner. So then I reopened it after eating dinner, had to start over. I was like, okay, I'm just going to speed run it, skip all the cutscenes. And I was flying through, and then I got kicked out. I said, thank you for playing the game. And I was really confused. I was like, oh my gosh, I wonder if cutscenes count no matter what, even if you skip them. And then I tried to reopen it a couple days later, and it wouldn't even let me run the game. So I realized you have 30 minutes in total. Once you've played 30 minutes on the game, you are locked out.
Wow.
See, I was kind of hoping when you said it was a one-shot demo that after that 30 minutes, it would just drop you to one bullet. And you just had one bullet to make it through as far as you could.
That would have been awesome. That would have been so tense.
You know some dude would have went through the entire game with one bullet and somehow went through it all.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Apparently the only way around it, I guess, if you play it on PC, people have already modded it to where you can just keep playing it over and over and over again. You still have the time limit, but you don't get locked out like you do on console. So I'm sure they restricted certain areas or hid items so you can't just play the demo and beat the game. But it was a really interesting concept. I don't think I've ever played a demo like that where you get locked out after 30 minutes. But yeah, so that's pretty much what's kept me busy. Playing a lot of video games. It's taking me away from anime. I'm not too happy about it.
Yeah, you guys have been slacking on the anime, and I don't know if you guys have been slacking on this, but anime movies have been prevalent in the last couple months. I know we had 2 heroes with My Hero, and we had the Broly movie that just came out.
Yeah, we all actually got to go see Brawley together.
Yeah, it was
we did.
Literally insane.
Yeah, and so that brings us to the main topic of our episode. We're going to talk about anime movies and how popular and big they've become. They were kind of, growing up, a few of them would come out. People have seen Studio Ghibli movies, Spirited Away,
most
all
of them
those.
are straight to DVD.
Yep.
They get those, in the mail.
Yep. Usually they were really bad. Like
They were terrible.
Yeah, you'd be in Walmart and you'd be looking at the $5 discount bin and you'd pick up, the Dragon Ball Z movie it was in the $5 bin, but it'd be like $2 because it was so bad. Yeah. And you would watch it on loop. But we've seen a huge difference, and a lot of it comes with nerd culture getting so big. But anime movies get a lot of respect nowadays.
Well, I think they're just better written nowadays. They're actually taking time. They're not just, going to drop a villain and just say, oh, well, here's the movie, and then we just see, nothing for like 20, 30 minutes, and then we just watch a fight, and usually the villain gets one-shotted or two-shotted. But that's definitely changed in recent movies coming out.
Right, and kind of in this rise, I don't know if they originally saw kind of the potential there, because a lot of these movies, even when they first started coming to the theaters, would come to select theaters for maybe one day, and that was it. And then all of a sudden now, Two Heroes, for instance, was every other day in my theater for about a week. And then I believe the Brawling movie was just every day.
Yeah, that's very true. I didn't even think about that. Two Heroes was limited release.
It was.
We had to go on I remember we bought our tickets like a couple weeks ahead, but yeah, it was a specific day.
And we had to pick our seats, so it was a packed theater.
Yeah. Yeah, we actually had to, we were intending to go at like a 5:30 showing, and they were like, oh, no, it's sold out. You got to go
7:30.
Not the next showing.
We had to wait.
Yeah, not the next showing, but the showing after that. So, just goes to show you how big, anime is really becoming in our country. It's awesome. As someone that watches so much anime, I'm freaking out.
Yeah, exactly. There's just a lot of good movies that come out, and Two Heroes came out. A couple, I'd say like a year before that, One Piece from Gold came out, which in my opinion was one of the better plot points of any anime movie. And honestly, in my opinion, had the almost exact same plot point as Two Heroes. We have, a new place that's mobile. It's kind of on a boat. The crew and everyone gets to, is somehow there, and they all show off their talents and everything. And then the villains are also very well done. I know in My Hero movie we had Wolfram, and in the One Piece one we had Tessero. They're both very similar. Actually voiced by the same voice actor, which is pretty funny.
Wasn't it Patrick Seitz was?
No, he wasn't. He wasn't the voice of them.
Who was it?
I know, I forget too, but they literally are voiced by the same guy, and they kind of have similar powers. He was a metal. The My Hero Wolfram, what was his power?
My Hero was metal.
Metal, and
it was like magnetism, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, there we go.
And Tesoro's was gold. He can manipulate gold, so it's kind of like the same kind of metal elements there. But it's they both end the same too, and I think it's honestly every anime movie should have this plot because I love it. It's honestly everything gets showcased. Every of your favorite characters get showcased. Leading up, they beat the henchmen. It's a heist. The villains is either a heist movie or everything looks like it's going right and it goes wrong. And it's just a great plot point, in my opinion. And the Broly movie kind of went with that formula, but it was also very different, and I liked it. With what was it? It had to be like an hour-long fight scene, it felt like.
Basically, yeah. It was like 40 minutes of kind of build-up and backstory, and then basically all fight.
It was nuts. And this fight wasn't just a fight. This is probably the greatest fight in anime history. I haven't seen anything that touches this. The choreographing.
Yeah, I'd love to spend some time on the Super movie Broly because I was blown away. I kept saying it before we walked in and saw it, how excited I was for the animation. Because it was a different studio that animated the movie,
which I'm so glad.
Yeah, so it was unreal. It was so cool. You could tell they really put the time in and the care to really do the movie justice. But I said blown away, but that's just the best words for it. I was the first time Goku went Super Saiyan. Like I think my jaw dropped, even though it's something I've seen.
We just haven't seen Super Saiyan in a while. That's why.
Yeah,
I miss the like the aura. We don't get that. God's kind of silent.
Yeah. And so, but it was so cool. It was a transformation that we've seen so many times, probably like thousands of times, if I'm being honest, between the anime and video games, movies, and then in the movie, it just looked so cool. The colors were so vibrant. There were some new colors in there. It was unreal. I loved it.
Definitely, I agree. The colors in this were great. Even within the fight scenes. The colors and stuff happening behind them were still always vivid and full.
Yeah, and it was a really interesting, I don't know if you guys noticed, there was a couple fight scenes where the background looked very realistic, even though, but the animation of the fighting was, it's still that very anime style, but like the icebergs and stuff in the background, the way they showed destruction fell apart and everything, it just...
Yeah, it was CG, which never looks good in anime, but in this movie, they did it perfectly. Because even at one point, I don't know if you realized, there was the Vegeta, Gallic Gun, and the Goku Kamehameha together when they're both standing next to each other. That's completely CGI. Both of them were. And I was jaw dropped. I was like, this looks good. CG never looks good when it's, the person, but it looked good.
That makes sense. I thought I noticed that. And that also makes sense the way the camera kind of pans around them. It's kind of hard to do when you're animating.
And the music, it was different, but I liked it. I honestly did. It was like the Gogeta, Broly, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it was very Super Smash almost.
Yeah, it was definitely interesting. That's what I'll say. I'm not going to say I didn't like it, but it was good. I mean, the music it did get you hyped up. Kind of felt like a big fight feel. Yeah. And I was excited. And just the movie in general, it was really good. I mean, we're talking about the animation, but the story was pretty good. We got a rehashed version of Broly. It was
we got a couple of things that are now canon that were not too canon. We got Broly, obviously. We got Gogeta, the fusion. That's obviously canon now. We have Gin, which is Goku's mom. She was canon in like manga, but you never really saw her. And we kind of got her fleshed out. And Bardock, I don't know, because we never really saw Bardock. He was mentioned, but we never really saw him in like an anime setting.
Yeah, technically Bardock was not canon, and that is what was so weird for me. I'm still not sure why, because usually anime movies are not canon. So I don't know what made them decide that this one is canon.
It's basically any Super movie is considered canon because they're either going to do it when Super boots back up. They're going to start with this and just flesh it out in a different, longer way. Or they're just going to come out and say that was the canon part, and we're just going to assume that you guys all watched that and that actually happened.
Well, that's what I think they're going to do, because when Battle of the Gods and Resurrection F came out, they did not say they were canon. They were just saying they were Dragon Ball Z movies.
Yeah.
And then that's why they got rehashed in the show.
Yeah.
It's because the movies weren't canon, but they made them canon because it was essentially the story.
Yeah, the reason I think it's going to be canon and they're going to redo it in Super is the pacing of like the story of the manga. I know the manga just introduced a new villain. I'm not going to spoil anything about that. But I don't see them starting with that and the manga being so short-handed with how like the window they have with it in the story. So I think they need a buffer in between, either a lot of filler or they're going to start with this. That's my opinion.
Yeah, and I mean, if Dragon Ball Z is kind of infamous for anything, they can kind of draw out art, so I wouldn't be surprised if they...
I'm not going to be upset if I could see it again.
No.
I watched Resurrection F and I guess it was the second arc of Super. And honestly, the story was kind of better with Resurrection F. They kind of fleshed out a little bit more, but the fight scenes, obviously, in the movie Resurrection F were better.
Yeah, the animation is just so good. But what I was saying was the story itself was phenomenal, too. We got a lot of backstory, but behind Frieza destroying Planet Vegeta.
We got a lot of backstory with that.
Yeah.
But they completely changed Broly's character. He honestly, before, just hated Goku because Goku was a crybaby, which was
a dumb plot.
Pretty bad motivation
so
for a villain.
How can you hear another baby crying? They were when they were pods in the first one.
Yeah, and so they changed that, and they did a really good job. There was a lot more backstory than I thought. Lake kind of mentioned it earlier, where he said it was like 40 minutes of story, and then we got to a lot of fighting. I honestly was, because it was Dragon Ball Z, I was expecting like 20, maybe 10 to 20 minutes of backstory, and then we'd get a little bit of Broly. And then they'd be fighting for like
they set Broly up to root for him. I was kind of rooting for Broly to kick Goku and Vegeta's butt.
Yeah, they definitely don't portray Broly as a bad guy. I don't think in any
his
scene.
Dad's kind of a
for sure. He's definitely the driving force and really the villain for the most part.
Yeah, and that was Broly. I liked him as a character. I wasn't rooting for him, but I definitely would not have been upset if. It was like a draw. I'll say that. Like, obviously, if he lost, like, that's never going to happen in an anime movie where the villain wins. But, yeah, they did a good job making him kind of sympathetic. It was really easy to kind of feel bad for him. He was just a little kid that was launched off to a deserted planet.
Over a petty revenge plot for his dad,
Yeah.
I mean, King Vegeta was already dead, and he just wants revenge on Vegeta. Like, come on, dude.
Yeah.
Get over it.
Yeah, well, he didn't know that at the time, though.
No, yeah, he didn't know it until Frieza told him. But he still wanted revenge for some reason.
Yeah, well, obviously you don't know, though, that Frieza obviously destroyed the planet. So there's really not that much reason for him to still not hold that.
That's true.
Yeah, actually, the way that Frieza explained it was, and even... It happens when we cut to Little Raditz and Little Vegeta. Is Frieza told everyone that a meteor hit Planet Vegeta.
Yeah.
So it was pretty interesting way of Frieza to kind of sweep himself under the rug. It was actually, now that I think about it, because in Dragon Ball Z, Vegeta knows that Frieza destroyed Planet Vegeta, doesn't?
No, it's like a misconception because I know a lot of video game stories say that.
Yeah.
But if you go back and watch the anime. Dodoria is the one that tells Frieza and Vegeta that Frieza destroyed it because he doesn't believe him because he got Dodoria cornered, and Vegeta, he was like, "Wait, I'll tell you what really happened in your planet." He's like, "What are you talking about? The meteor hit the planet." He's like, "No, I'll tell you something a little different." That's just how that goes. I know it was so long ago. Like I literally had to rewatch Kai to remember that, but
that makes sense. So just a couple things about Super before we move on to the next movie that we're going to talk about. So it grossed 21 million opening weekend, which is unreal for an anime movie. the only 2 anime movies that have done better are the first 2 Pokemon movies.
Wow.
Yes, and everyone knows how big Pokemon was. Like
huge.
Right, yeah.
They were anime movies, but Pokemon was a lot bigger than just an anime.
And Pokemon went longer. I'm pretty sure that was in theaters for a while.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it was. But yeah, Pokemon was. They had the card game, the video games, the TV show. I mean, kids were watching the Pokemon show growing up. It wasn't like an anime, you know. I mean, Dragon Ball Z was kind of similar. Dragon Ball Z was the first anime for a lot of people. But so yeah, it grossed 21 million opening weekend. It was projected only 11 million, so it almost doubled it. Then it also made 7.06 million opening day, which made it the number 1 movie in America for a couple days, which is really cool. It made a lot of money over the weekend. Unfortunately, it wasn't number 1 over the weekend, but the fact that it was the number 1 movie in America for a little bit is awesome for an anime movie.
Yeah, that just speaks wonders to how much that this whole basically niche has grown.
Yeah, it's almost hard to call it a niche anymore. Like,
and Hollywood's going to look at this, and they're not going to shy away from it. They know it's going to make money, so expect a lot more movies coming out.
Which makes me kind of nervous when you put it like that. But
yeah, that does actually.
As long as they're not live action, that's never going to work out well.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think they can never get the hair right.
No.
I think that's the
It's
one thing that will always kill it.
If you see there's posters that came out of the new My Hero live action, and the hair is spot on. It just looks funny. It looks like they're wearing wigs.
Oh, it's not a movie. That's a
movie?
play.
Is it a play?
Yeah, it's a play.
I'm actually more intrigued by this now.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about
doesn't really matter then.
It looks amazing. For those of you that have not seen anything about it, the props and the costume design are unreal. And the fact that it's a play makes it even more impressive because, play, you're not going to have special effects or anything.
That's why I was worried with those costumes in a movie. I'm like, this just is going to look like kids cosplaying for, an hour and a half. But a play look makes sense.
Yeah, so it should be really good. The only costume that looks pretty bad is...
Mineta.
No, even... I mean,
Mineta's
I'm
just saying
because
he looks like a grown man. He's not, they should have had like a 10-year-old. But are you going to say Tokiyami?
Yes.
Yeah, it looks like a pinata
I could
head.
see that.
Tokiyami looks really bad.
It looks super bad.
It's pretty funny, but everyone else looks really good.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, Kirishima and Bakugo, it's unreal. It's so spot on. I mean, since we're talking about, the My Hero play, we wanted to touch on movies. We talked about My Hero the movie earlier, but let's just kind of talk about it. Like, what did you guys think of Two Heroes?
Go ahead, Lake. I'll let you go first.
I thought Two Heroes was great. Really, I think we kind of discussed, as far as I can remember, that's my first real anime movie. Katie and I went and saw it in the theater. I think either the night it came out or the night before it came out. But I thought it was great. It was a lot of fun. Obviously, it was an entertaining plot line. That's definitely one thing that builds it over the Dragon Ball Super movie for me. I love that stronger plot, and obviously I'm more connected to the heroes in the story. Katie, do you want to say anything about that?
Hey everybody. It's the first anime movie I ever saw in theaters. I had seen some of the Pokemon ones. And I mean, I loved it. I can't remember what I said after that. Do I need to come down here?
Yeah.
Should I start over or just
No.
keep going? All right, I'll just keep going. But it was like I said, it was the first one I ever saw in theaters, and it was an experience being new to the anime world, I guess. But I thought it was really good. It sounds like, from what Lake has told me, it's the whole setup of kind of a very short amount of talking and then just really, really long fight until the end is pretty normal.
Yeah,
from what it sounds like.
Yeah, it's really normal with anime movies.
I thought it was hilarious how they fit in every character. They had to at least pay homage to every character, even if they did nothing in the movie.
Yeah, because people have different characters. Most of my characters aren't the main character. I kind of despise Deku and all of his saucelessness and everything, but he will get better.
I think he's one of the most annoying characters I've ever
I love Midoriya, but that's
okay. But I love Bakugo.
I love Bakugo too.
Just for people that don't know, Bakugo is the most popular character in My Hero Academia. I think 3 years in a row he's won a huge poll. And both, even that's for anime watchers and manga readers only.
Yeah.
Like, Bakugo is
Right.
far and away the most popular character.
Right.
It's unreal.
He's great.
I think we have to look at this too, maybe similar to a Naruto situation, where if you go back and watch some of the earlier episodes of that, this show's 100% about his character development.
Yes.
Obviously, like, he's gonna start this crybaby, but I don't think he's gonna end like that.
No.
No, he's definitely not. They literally say in the first episode he's going to be the greatest hero, so he's obviously going to get a lot cooler. I just definitely agree with saying that there's other characters right now. That
Yeah, and I did like Katie mentioned how they all got brought in. It was really cool.
I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what got the biggest laughs, like, of any part of the movie is, like, oh, here are these kids sitting in the hotel room. All right, back to, what's happening.
Yeah,
So.
it was funny. It was cool, and a lot of it felt kind of natural too. Like at first, we were led to believe, or at least how they led into it from the show. The anime, we have that one filler episode where they're trying to figure out. It's like the mystery, and it was like All Might was pretending to be the villain. And at the very end of that episode, All Might invites Midoriya on the trip.
to go to the trip.
Yeah, so it was a really cool way to tie it into the movie. So we're led to believe, it's supposed to be just All Might and Midoriya.
I forgot about that episode.
Yep.
It was so weird.
Yeah, it was an odd episode. And then Midoriya's walking around with Melissa of S.H.I.E.L.D., and he bumps into Momo, Uraraka.
Yeah, because Momo's rich and invited him all.
Yep, because Momo's family is rich.
That's Momo's flex. She's flexed on the audience.
Yep,
Like,
so it's
I brought
Momo.
everyone here. Enjoy the
Exactly.
movie.
Yep, it was Momo, Jiro. It was Jiro, right? Was the third girl
Yeah.
with them. Yep,
Yes.
and Uraraka. And then Uraraka kind of freaks out.
And then Mineta and Kaminari took internships or something like that to be the waiters. or
Yep, they
something
signed
like
up to
that.
be waiters because they wanted to go too.
I thought they were going to see hot girls, but
Yep.
they were see old dudes.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then
Right.
we get like
The other ones are there. I can't remember, like, why everyone else
Yeah,
ended
they
up
like
there.
briefly showed like
But they're
Tokuyami,
there, and then they're literally like they get stuck when the thing locks down. They just get stuck somewhere,
Yeah, I
and
agree.
that's
Yeah.
where they are.
Yeah, they get stuck in the hotel
Well, they had to make a decision on who was going to be there. They can't literally show
Have
everyone.
everyone
Yeah.
fighting.
Right, yeah. It's not the show where they kind of... Even in the show, though, talking back to the USJ attack, they even skimmed over some of the fights there.
Yeah, that is true.
Even Naval Laser Guy. Oh, where were you the whole time? I'll never tell.
yeah,
Was,
Angel was a
um,
real
The guy
interesting
with the
character.
tail,
Was
everyone
the invisible girl
Bunch
like
of
where
them.
was she in the movie?
Oh, she was there the whole
Hagakure
time.
was in. She was in. No, she was
Was she
in.
fighting?
There's a
with them,
specific
or-
scene in the movie where I'm pretty sure you can see like shoes
Another
floating and her
favorite.
eating popcorn.
Oh.
I distinctly
Yes,
show
that
her.
remember
happens.
that. Yeah.
Some
yeah.
of the girls get trapped in a room.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she's in the room
okay.
with like
Everyone
Mina
eating
and Froppy, and
the
so
lack of Froppy.
yeah,
Oh,
very
man.
sad.
I'm sure people hated
R.I.P.
that.
Yeah.
I don't love her as
Our
much as
friend
everyone
Byrne
else.
is super into Froppy. Not gonna say it in a weird way,
Yeah,
but this is his
he's
favorite
obsessed
character.
with Froppy, which I
Froppy
think it's a
was
cool
not-
favorite character to have.
Yeah.
But yeah,
A lot of people like she's their favorite.
But one thing I was so glad. I literally told Merrick and even Lake beforehand that I hope You Say Run was in the movie, that the song, and it was at the end, and I was so fulfilled because I think that is one of the best anime hype battle songs there is.
yeah, You Say Run's phenomenal. So I was really happy they threw that in there for sure.
And the All Might Deku final punch is just like
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, honestly,
Oh, yeah.
I loved the story behind it. Like, it wasn't a lot. My Hero, I feel like, is a very narrative-driven shonen. There's usually a lot of story, and then the fights are really good, but they're kind of short.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
agree.
Which I mean in a good way. I'd rather be left wanting more than
Yeah.
being like, okay, when is this going to be over?
Well, I feel like, and I'm not a huge like anime person yet, but and this may be the case, but I feel like the My Hero fights are usually pretty predictable. Like how they're gonna go.
Yeah.
So having the good narrative behind it helps.
And this movie was actually probably most likely the last time we're going to see All Might do anything
Oh,
fighting
yeah.
wise.
yeah,
That's
it
true.
will be.
It was kind of stretched. It's a stretch that he would have the All Might form for that long, even in the movie. But it's a movie. It's
Yeah.
not canon, so it made sense. But
Yeah.
I liked how it was the last time.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought the story was pretty good. I liked the new characters. The
Dave,
villain wasn't
Dave.
anything special.
No, it was mostly to focus on Dave and his development.
Dave was pretty cool. I loved Melissa. I wish she was a part of the show.
I liked
I thought she was an awesome character.
Yeah, I also thought she was a really great character. That would be cool to see her come back. Unfortunately, I think that this plot was disposable enough that we'll probably never see that again.
Yeah, there was a couple things, like I remember, what did Deku get? some kind of sleeve or glove.
The gloves.
And
yeah.
I'm a manga reader, so I knew. I'm like, oh, that's going to be broken by the end of the movie.
yeah.
Right, yeah, that was like a huge plot point where, they were like, oh, well, here's this technology that would prevent Deku from, ever breaking his arm.
Yeah, because I remember Merrick was so hyped, because that was before he read.
Yeah.
And he was looking at me like, oh my god, here it is. This is like, I'm like,
yeah.
I mean, but didn't the show, already go past that point? Like, we knew he didn't have them, because the show had already gone past this point.
The show, and
yeah.
we kind of have an idea of where it fits in the timeline just because of that filler episode. We don't know exactly where that filler episode takes place, but we know
it was their summer break.
That movie. Yeah. So yeah, it was their summer break, so we know it's past that point. But I liked. It was it made sense why the gauntlets broke. You know what I mean? It was cool.
Absolutely.
I mean, obviously, it was like a foolproof. Like, oh, here's the press to win button. But it was pretty cool. It felt like something that the characters would do.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It didn't feel out of characters for them to use these things. But yeah, so I love Two Heroes. It was really good. So it's really neat between Two Heroes and Super, in such a short span, the great movies that we've seen.
Yeah, and even you said when you saw One Piece that was a packed theater.
Yeah, no, I was so surprised. Like, One Piece is big, but I don't really know how much it's big in America still. But that theater, we literally had to pick our seats as well, and that was at a big theater. It was like the Orlando.
Yeah, that was
AMC.
at the AMC at Disney Springs, right? And that was only 1 or 2 showings.
No, yeah, that was a very limited release. I think it was like a day, and it was like 4 showings. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest One Piece fan. I started reading it. I don't know if I can watch how much there is, but yeah, I started reading it, and I watched a little bit of the movie with you. And it definitely seemed like it's really good.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. Like I said, it's almost exactly similar to Two Heroes if you go back and watch it. It's like plot point, the villain. It's just pretty cool. And I hope that I would never get tired of that plot point and that kind of style and the way those movies go.
Yeah, it's it's an easy way to do it.
Yeah, because it just showcases everything you want.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, other than those 3, we also had the Boruto movie came out within the last couple of years.
Yeah,
and that was really good too.
It was very good. It was something that they really didn't even have anything out of what they were gonna do with Boruto, but it definitely showcased a lot of stuff. Showcased Naruto and Sasuke fighting adult wise, and it was just so cool.
Yeah, and watching that movie really is what set it in my mind. The thing to pay attention to in anime movies is how unreal the animation is.
Oh my god!
Because the fight in the Boruto movie is probably the ending fight is one of my favorite fights in anime ever. It honestly probably passed by the Broly fight that we see.
That's true. And what's the funny part is the Boruto anime. That fight is 10 times better animated and because they kind of had some redesigns. The last villain in the Boruto movie got a redesign in the Boruto anime, and he looks way cooler. And I think the fight is better choreographed, and it kind of just looks way better. So I would definitely recommend checking that out as well. The Boruto anime.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I did enjoy them.
Yeah, I definitely think one of the big topic points here is the quality of all of these are just phenomenal, even compared to the regular anime. Mm-hmm. When they're doing these for the big screen, whether we're getting more frames and just higher quality. Brighter colors, I feel like, too, pretty consistently.
Yeah, very vivid.
I know one scene that we always seem to talk about, Two Heroes, is the scene where Midori is, flipping up the staircase.
Yeah, I love that scene. That was sweet.
And then also the scene in Brawly when they're, basically fighting through dimensions.
Yeah, they shatter time and space.
That was insane. That obviously was there to show that the Earth probably couldn't handle what they were doing, so it was kind of just to show we should probably send them somewhere else. But it was awesome. They went all out in that little pocket dimension they were able to slip into.
Yeah, it's just so awesome seeing how fluid.
It just goes to show that getting more time to work on something. I know anime, they have a deadline. They want it week to week.
Yeah, it's crazy, the stress on these studios to animate things.
It's so true. I would honestly rather them take as long of breaks as My Hero was taking, just to better animate and just take your time. I'd wait a whole year just to have the whole season just released, just in better quality.
Yeah, I was upset at first when My Hero announced their break, and we talked about it a little bit.
But that just shows that they're probably going to animate
oh my gosh.
a lot.
Yeah, and this next season, no spoilers, but it is going to blow anything that's happened so far out of the water. And I'm so excited to see it animated. It's going to be so good. But yeah, you hit the nail on the head. Just the quality's been so much better for anime movies. I mean, we've seen pretty much the only like consistently great style anime movies has been Studio Ghibli for the last
Those are usually
15,
people's
20
first
years.
two to get into anime.
Yeah, they're very easy movies. They're standalone. You know, I don't think there's little references in a lot of them, but
Yeah, you can literally not be a fan of anime. I know one time I was watching Spirited Away, and my mom walked in, and she knows nothing about anime and like really isn't into those things, but she was watching the movie and she honestly enjoyed it.
yeah, it's really good. I mean, Spirited Away is good. I mean, My Neighbor Totoro is a great. They're just wholesome, great movies. Like,
They really are.
they're so much fun. And then another movie that isn't really related to any of the big animes we've seen is called Your Name. I know you guys are probably annoyed to no end about how much I bring it up.
Well, what's funny is I tried to watch Your Name, but I accidentally was going through and I forgot what it was called. And I watched, what was it called? I watched, like 7 centimeters per second, I think it was called.
That's supposed to be another good one, too.
It was
I haven't
really
watched that
good,
one.
but apparently it wasn't as good as Your Name. It was like very similar, but I wasn't able to watch Your Name. I still have yet to see it.
Yeah, not that ratings are ever the end-all, be-all for a movie, but just to let you guys know, Your Name right now has a 97% on Rotten Tomatoes still, and it came out a couple years ago.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was unreal. So, like an anime movie, you know what I mean? And it's easy for us to talk about, you know, the Super movie. And
No, this is
My
a
Hero.
crier, I heard.
Oh, yeah. I will not lie. I definitely cried like a baby a couple times during that movie.
Guys, I think we need to pick a couple anime movies and just sit down one day and just grind through them and have a good discussion about it.
We should all, like, just say one that we should all, like, watch, that we need to watch. Like, obviously the other two haven't watched. And
Right now, Your Name. I'll say it right now. We'll start with a good cry.
I'll start with
Katie
that
is
cry.
giving the thumbs up that she's all in for this plan.
Yeah, it's... Oh, Katie, you will love it. It is so good.
I see. The ones we listed, I'm trying to think of one that you both haven't seen. That I would honestly say you guys would enjoy One Piece Film Gold only because you watched Two Heroes. I would say that's one you need to watch. You don't even need to watch the show to watch that.
Yeah, I watched the show, and it's one that I've been meaning to get to.
Yeah.
I guess I'm not really sure where it fits in, so I'm kind of afraid to watch it, I guess.
It doesn't spoil too much as long as you don't mind like some transformations being spoiled. There's just what they pretty much are where they are.
I mean, I'm so far behind. I know most of what happens ahead of me.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, that's kind of what makes it okay for One Piece, is it's been going on for so long. Like, if you haven't seen spoilers for One Piece, and you actively watch anime, like, power to you. I'm jealous.
True. I'm jealous too.
Because I feel like I know almost, not everything about One Piece, but I've seen so much,
I think that's almost as hard as not finding Attack on Titan spoilers.
Oh my god.
Yes, I do everything I can to avoid those.
See, I think I've become the monster in that I get so worried about being spoilers that I'm just like, you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and just read the
full on hug him.
manga.
Okay.
So I'm never upset about spoilers.
Well, reading the manga makes sense. That's what ended up... The whole reason I started reading My Hero, actually, was like, it had a huge plot point for the next season.
I remember, Merrick texted me about it. I'm like, well, you might as well just start reading now.
Yeah, and the worst part about it was I had been saying for about 2 weeks that I was like, oh, I'm so excited. I gotta read it. And people were like, oh, no, you should wait for
I
the
literally
show.
did tell him, because he's talking about his favorite character, Mirio, who was in the next season.
Next season, yeah.
And I won't spoil anything, but he was just so hyped on it, and then he gets this spoiler, and he's like, oh no, like, please. I was like, well, I guess you gotta read now.
Yeah, the worst part, it was a random thread on Reddit that had nothing to do with anime. It was like it wasn't r/cooking, but it was just something just not related, just to paint a picture, like,
oh god,
wildly different. And then somehow a My Hero reference got put in, and then someone was like, oh yeah, I'm so happy, this character was there, and then just boom, just spoiler, like on random Reddit, and I was so upset.
Oh god.
This is the same thing that I gave to you, right? It was that spoiler?
Well, yeah, it had to do with him.
Right.
But I don't think you know the spoiler.
Okay, that's
I'm not
good.
even gonna
and I'm not reading
I wouldn't
it.
recommend anyone get that spoiler for them.
Yeah, and just don't look at the internet. I guess the internet is not a safe space. But you can find us on the internet.
Yes, you can. And I believe that's going to bring us to the close of the show. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Pretty Much Anything Nerdy. If you have any ideas for future episodes, or you just want to say hi, you can email us at prettymuchanythingnerdy@gmail.com. Episode 2 of Pretty Much Anything Nerdy is being recorded on January 21st, 2018. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for tuning in.
Peace.